And so start with your comfortable seat. Welcome yourself to this time for practice, for yoga hour. Close the eyes for a moment or turn your gaze low. Check into body, check into breath. This week I was at a holiday party with my spouse. Everybody loves in his company to rush over and talk yoga to me, of course. And one of his colleagues was especially keen on letting me know that the yoga teachers need to keep their personal stuff to the side. She's like, this is my 1 hour a week for class. I want it to be good stuff. So I task you with that. This is your practice. As you move through, as you breathe through, find the ways that help you feel good and better. Sometimes that's through more challenge and rubbing up against the hard stuff. Some days it's by laying back a little bit, letting yourself take that first bus stop of the pose instead of the second or third. Let it be a mix and match that feels like home and goodness. Tuck your chin down to your chest and rock your head from side to side here. Noticing right off the bat, how does this feel? Keep the right ear over towards the right shoulder. Walk the left fingertips out to the side for a little more stretch. We start this way so often as sort of a benchmark. How is it going today? Place the right hand on top of the left ear and give it a little more tug out to the side. And then bring the hands back to the thighs, chin to chest. Rock it on over to the second side, left ear to left shoulder. Walk the right fingertips out and take the left hand on top of the right ear. And as you bring the hands back to the thighs, chin to the chest, bring the palms together, just a little silent intention for how this practice will come to you. And let's get moving. Release the hands, lift the head, open your eyes. Come on over to all fours. Place your hands under the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips. Rock the spine back and forth with cat and cow. Maybe wag the hips a little side to side, whatever feels nice to you. And then from cat and cow, stretch on into downward facing dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips. As you find your downward facing dog, pedal it out. Shift more or shift less. Next, inhale, come forward to plank pose. Pause there for a moment, bring the feet close together, squeeze the heels, squeeze the glutes, lengthen your tailbone, tone the abdomen, look a little forward past the hands. Steady, stabilized. Hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower to the bottom of that push-up and hover again right there at the bottom. Toes or knees, hover, hover, hover for 3, 2, 1. And then lower it all the way down. Interlace your hands behind your back and lift everything up. Shalabhasana, hands clasped. Release and change to downward facing dog. Step the right foot forward into your low lunge. Take your time to get your full length, knee over ankle, fingertips in line with our toes. Lift the back leg high enough that you can make it straight. And then right hand up to the sky in a twist or a revolved lunge. Lower the right hand down, listen up here, step forward, both feet to the front of the mat. Stand up, arms to the sky, bend the knees, sit low into chair pose, Utkatasana. And then change, hands behind your back, interlace, hands up, head down to your knees. So chair pose with hands bound. Release the hands, stand up again, both arms to the sky. Take your right hand, hold on to the upper arm bone on the left side, and lean to the side. Left hand reaches to the right side. Come back to your center, exhale, forward fold, step it backwards to downward facing dog. Take a breath there. And then step your left foot forward into the low lunge. Square off the hips. Take the left hand high, revolved lunge. And then repeating on the second side, so the hand comes down, step forward. Utkatasana. Interlace the second favorite finger in front behind your back. Send your head towards your knees, arms up to the sky. This hands bound version of power pose, chair pose. Stand up, both arms to the sky. Left hand holds onto your right upper arm bone and lean to the left. Try to lean your head back into your forearm. Come to center. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Step it back to plank. Each time today, try hovering at the bottom rather than lying all the way down. Hover for just a moment and then flat down. Cobra, peel the chest up, press down through your hands and your feet. Change to downward facing dog. And again, start right side. Step the right foot forward to your low lunge. Climb both hands up to your front thigh. And then arms forward, lift the back leg an inch or two higher to get that full stretch. And take it into the twist, left elbow to the outside of the right knee. So a deeper twist the second time around. Can you stay in this twist but look down at your right foot and step forward to chair pose in the twist? And then untwist, stand up, both arms to the sky. Right foot stays forward, step your left foot back into a high lunge. So you should be on that same side. And now hold on to your left wrist and reach to the right. To the center, hands down, step to plank pose. Remember, we're hovering at the bottom of plank for just a moment. And then flat down. Change to cobra. And then downward facing dog. Second side, step the left foot forward to your lunge. Climb the hands up to the front thigh. Okay, this seems like a little thing, but as I reach my hands out and forward and take the chest lower to the left thigh, I actually try to lift my right thigh, my back leg, a little higher up. Creates a little more balance and ease of control. Also, space in the low back as you take it into this deeper twist, right elbow to the outside of the left thigh. So if the hips, back leg is higher, low back has a little more room, less squeeze in the twist. Good, look down at your front foot. Step forward. Power pose with the twist, chair pose with the twist. And then we untwist, stand all the way up, both arms to the sky. Keep the left foot forward. Step the right foot back. High lunge. Hold on to your right wrist. Reach to the left. Lots of good side body twist and lengthening here at the beginning. Back to the center, lower the hands down, step back to plank. To make the hover more easeful, you can start with the knees down and then go to that hover, low chaturanga. And notice that I'm asking you to lie all the way down and then lift for cobra. It's just a lot less taxing, greater availability to keep our shoulders in particular happy with us over time. Downward facing dog, lift all the way up and back. Separate your feet as wide as your sticky mat here, so a little broader in the feet for down dog. And then walk your hands back like half of a hand print. So that broader, shorter version. I'm hoping that gives us a little more access for twisted downward dog. Take your right hand to the left leg. Slide it as far down as possible on the outside of the leg, maybe even all the way down to your ankle, and look underneath that left armpit. If you have really tight hamstrings, shortening downward facing dog might have done the opposite for you and made this pose harder. If that's your case, go back out to a longer stride and try the second side and see if it makes more sense. Left hand, hold on to the right leg. Nothing wrong with tight hamstrings at all. Just like nothing wrong with looser hamstrings. It's all just how we use it in our practice. Come back to plank. Again, hover right above, low chaturanga. Set it all the way down so you're not load bearing before you go into cobra, then lift. Change to downward facing dog. Good times here. Walk the hands back to your feet. Hands to the hips, point your elbows to the sky, come all the way up to standing. Good. Shake it out, whatever feels nice to you. And then stand in the very center of your mat, so you've got a little room in front, a little room behind you. Pull the right knee up into the chest, hold underneath that thigh. This is a great work of a progressive pose here. So the first bus stop is this bent knee holding onto the leg. Second bus stop, we extend the leg and keep holding the leg. Third, take one or both hands to the waist and try to keep the leg as high as you can. Lower abdomen, pelvic floor, lift. Swing the leg back behind you now, warrior three. As the leg goes up, torso comes towards parallel to the floor. Make as much of a T shape as you can and send your arms out in front of you. Feel free to bend the standing leg so that you can more easily square off the hips. Can you stand and swing the leg forward again? And then drop it into eagle pose. Cross the right leg over the left, right arm under the left. Check the balance as needed and then try to come back to the pose. It's a whole lot on one leg. Release the right leg, release the arms, shake it out. Second side. Pull the left knee up and into the chest. Hold under the thigh so it's easier to hold the grip at first. And then straighter leg. Stay and work there or take the hands to the waist. Lift, 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 stay with it. Okay, warrior three. Everybody hands to the waist if not already so you can swing the leg back behind you. Left hip wants to turn out to the side. Try to square it down. Send the arms forward. Make the right leg only as straight as works. As you come back through to the first position, swing the leg forward. And then bend the knee and cross it over the standing leg for eagle legs. Left arm under the right. Hold on to your shoulders or your hands. Eagle. Stand on 2 feet. Again, release the arms and shake. Okay, less complicated here because it's just one pose. We're not trying to lock them together. A lot like warrior three, but instead of hands forward, we're going to send them back. Take your right foot and tap just behind you. Let's take our torso over first. And right here, if you take your torso over first, you'll get a good idea of how much bend you need in that standing leg to keep the hips square while you still have the back foot helping you balance on the ground. And then, levitating sage, lift the right leg up and send the hands back behind you. They can stay open or interlace because we've been doing that a lot behind the back. One more breath. Release the right foot. Come back to stand. Do the second side. Point the left foot back. Again, I'm going to bend the right knee a little bit so that I can have that full tilt from the hips. Trying to make my spine, torso as parallel as possible to the ground. And then working from there, lift the left leg. Ton of glute strength, hip stability on the standing leg. And then arms back. Again, open or try that second favorite finger if you're interlacing the hands behind the back. And stand again on 2 feet. Come all the way up to the very front end of the mat. I need a little flow to get back into the picture and ease. Take it with me. Inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Step back to plank. Lower down to the mat. Then lift for cobra. Downward facing dog. Breathe here. This is a long-standing balance series. If you're like me and often get a little frustrated in the balance series, make sure you do something after it that does feel great to get you back to that home base. Look forward to the hands now. Step or jump to the front of the mat. Half lift. Forward fold. Stand, reach the arms to the sky. Palms together, center of the chest. Maybe it's here, just taking a steady couple of breaths in mountain pose that help to bring you back. Give you your center. Remind yourself of the intention that brought you to practice today. Again, inhale, lift your arms up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Now keep the right foot forward and step your left foot back into a low lunge. Good, spin the back heel down, down dog lunge, so we bring the hands to the inside. Walk the hands forward. I almost always do this at the beginning of class, trying to get that long, full stretch. And again, here are some bus stop options. You stay with down dog lunge, or change hands behind your back to interlace. One more exaggeration, head down, arms up. No handed lunge. The hips want to flare out to the long edge of the mat. Try to square a bit, shoulders and hips, more towards the front short side of the mat. Imagine how you would be in Warrior 1 instead of Warrior 2. And then release the hands and switch sides. So however you want to get there. Left foot forward, right foot back. Spin the back heel down, turn those back toes in so they face towards the top corner of your mat. Down dog lunges first. Walk the hands out. And in that thought of keeping the hips slightly more square towards the front of the mat, in down dog lunge, walk the hands forward rather than off to the side. Keep doing that, or change to hands interlace behind the back. So that first bus stop of hands behind your back but not up to the sky is just going to bring you even more in tune with the strength needed in the legs and abdomen to hold you. And then the last piece, hands higher, head further down. Just brings that up another level while giving you stretch in the shoulders. Okay, hands release safely on either side of the front foot. Step both feet to the front of the mat. Come up just a half lift, and hear me out here. So half lift, make like an L shape in your body. This is like we did an elevating sage. Bend the knees a little bit, take your hands to your hips. Try to keep that parallel line of the upper body from hips to head. Should be a little bit difficult here. Hold in, tuck in the abdomen. Okay, and then the change up. We're moving towards revolve triangle. Keep the right foot forward, step the left foot back. Try to push the back heel down and straighten the right leg as you do so. You're still in that long torso, parallel to the ground. Send both arms out to the front first. And then try this. Left hand stays forward, but send your right hand back like it did an elevating sage. And then if you add the twist, left hand goes down to the floor and right hand up to the sky now. So we're trying to keep the torso at the same level and just changing its directionality. And then we're going to try to square the torso again. So right hand goes back, left hand goes forward. Both hands forward. Hands to the waist. Bend both knees. Step the left foot next to the right. Should be getting a little tired here, but we're going to give it a go on the second side. You can always come out for a couple of breaths, get a sip of water. Remember, this is for you. What do you need? What makes you feel good and better? Moving right along, right foot back. As you make the back foot flat, straighten the left leg. Try to keep the torso in the same place. Hips, shoulders square to the ground. Send both arms forward. And then the left arm swings back like levitating sage. Front arm is like warrior 3. We add the twist. Right hand goes down, left arm up. Revolve triangle pose is here. And then you unrotate through the torso and take right hand forward, left hand back again. 2 hands forward. 2 hands to the waist, little bend in both knees, step forward. Stand all the way up, both arms to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Step it all the way back to downward facing dog. Take your time to get there. Pedal at the feet a bit. Lift your right leg up into the air, 3-legged dog. Step it all the way forward to your low lunge. Move both hands to the inside of your foot. Low lunge with both hands to the inside of your foot. So you've got some more room and width in the hips to work with. Stages here. You stay as you are. Go to flat palms, bend the elbows. Still good there, all the way down to the forearms, left, then right. So humble warrior. You could call this one simply forearm lunge. Keep the back knee up unless that isn't helpful to you, then put it down. Try to keep the right knee forward over the second and third toes, which means right toes have to stay forward also. Hold this one. The challenge is in staying with it. And then walk it back up to the hands if you're lower down. Downward facing dog, just step it on back. Second side, lift the left leg up into the air, 3-legged dog. Swing it all the way through into your low lunge. Bring the hands to the inside. Pause, hands to the inside in that low lunge. And consider, where else do you need to go? Flat palms, bend the elbows, go down to the forearms if that works. Stay higher if that's best. And it's likely different side to side. Listen up to that. Just because you went on one stage on the first side doesn't mean the second side has to match. It's a good way of getting to know the body. And since we constantly change, it might be different today. Come on back up. Downward facing dog, step it back. Knees down to the mat, child's pose. Press your hips back to your heels. Reach your arms out nice and long in front of you. And then change. Take a seat, stretch your legs out in front. I'm going to stay on the same side, not trying to mirror you guys here. So if you're looking at me and that seems confusing, just know I'm saying what I'm doing with you. Okay, right foot, pick it up and pull back. Give yourself a little bit of a cradle here, back and forth. Many of you know what's coming here. We sit down and we wear our legs. So backpack leg. Take the right foot as far back as possible and then hike the heel up to try to get the leg on top of your shoulder. It might bring your weight way over towards that left side. Just place the left hand down to help balance you out. And then as much as you can, place the right hand down to balance you out. Keep your butt and heel on the ground, or pick one side up, or pick both things up. One hand arm pose. It goes all the way down. Shake it out. And then hold your left leg and cradle it a little bit back and forth. Same thing here. Send your left knee as far back as possible. The heel picks up higher so that your left shoulder can duck underneath, and try to get into that crease of your knee. Clamp the foot down. Place both hands to the floor. Now, I think the easiest thing is to lean back and lift your right heel up. Second easiest is to press your heel down, lean forward, and lift your butt up. And then the hard piece of the puzzle is doing just enough of both of those sides to lift in the center. It's more physics than strength. And then you release all down, give it a little bit of a shake. We're going to go back to that cradle, so hold on to your right leg again. Same thing, you get a second look at it to start here. This is going to go to seated pigeon pose. So instead of thinking right knee as far back as possible, instead I want you to think left foot over in front, right foot over in front of the left shoulder. Take the arms under your shin and give it a hug there. If that one works and you want more challenge, try holding eye of the elbow, the crease of the elbow around the knee and the foot. Good, and then this complicates things a little bit more. Tuck the left heel in towards the right hip. So both legs are kind of in that cross position. It just changes more of the knee and the hip. Elevated or seated pigeon pose. As carefully as you came into it, go out of it, 2 legs to the ground. So if the first, wearing the leg, arm balance is strength and control, a little bit of the physics of where the particular pieces are. This one's all stretch. Left side. Start with the rock. Okay, and then we think left foot in the line of the right shoulder. The closer the foot also goes to the shoulder, take it there. I talk probably too much and every day about this hip injury I'm working with, so my foot stays way out in front on this side, and that's what makes me feel good and better, so that's where I go. Yeah, always finding your place. Can you hook the forearms? Like I can hook one forearm on this side. Like find what can make the shape mostly work. Tuck in that bottom heel if it goes. And I can change my pelvis enough to get things even a little more on track. Ever occasionally, the more challenging thing starts to make it all piece together. Okay, and then again, we're slowly, carefully going to draw ourselves out of that. Taking a little extra time to sit and stretch, open, particularly in the outer hip there, is going to help us for what's coming up right here. Change back to downward facing dog. I'm hoping you have a little space to each long edge side of your mat. Pull your right knee into your chest and hover forward. And then you're going to shoot your right leg underneath you to the left side. And lie your hips down, legs like an L shape. Send chest down and forward. Remember how we were hovering in those low chaturangas at the beginning? I want you to try your best to do that here, which means you got to press into the edges of your feet, press into your hands, and try to hover your hips just above the ground, even if it's for half a second. And then it sets right back down. And then we get all the way out of this pretzel back to downward facing dog. This is setting us up for K Sage 1 Kundinyasana. Pull the left knee into your chest and hover forward. Remember, bus stops. I'm going to give you lots. Find which works. Shoot the left leg underneath you to the right side. That's another bus stop. Hips are high. You're strengthening in the upper body, around the shoulders. Next, we lay it all the way down. Hips go down. Chest down. And then the hard strength thing is you press into the hands, outer edges of the feet. Try to get your hips to lift for even a second. And you can set it back down, maybe tie it 2 or 3 times. Lift, hover. Lift, hover. And stretch it all the way back to downward facing dog. Pedal it out. Knees down, sit back on tucked toes. Interlace your hands behind the back, lift. If tucked toes isn't working, but a full kneel is better, do that. And then release and give it all a little bit of shake. A little show and tell. So watch me first. And we're going to try to elevate the pose that we just did so it's balancing on our arms instead of on the ground. Watch. I think this one makes most sense to see from this angle. So we started here with the hover and then shot the foot underneath. Those two things start the same. But I'm going to try to get my right leg onto my left arm. So I'm going to bend the knee and hook the elbow so that I create a little bookshelf and stretch the legs out in either way. Same pose we were trying to do in that little hover, especially the hard part, except the leg is on the arm instead of on the ground. Let's see what happens. All right, downward facing dog. I'm going to watch you do. Downward facing dog. Pull the right knee into your chest and hover forward. Shoot the right leg to the left underneath you. Okay, and then you need to bend that knee and kind of step on your foot so that you can replace the hands a little closer to that crossed leg. And see if you can get your upper arm bone to hook to your outer thigh. And then if that happens, lean more forward. Remember, think physics. How do you get balance to occur? To get the legs to lift off. And then walk it all the way back to downward facing dog. And let's just immediately go into it on the second side. Be playful with yourself. What acknowledgments can you bring up to help you keep going here? Shoot the leg out to the side. Bend the knees so that then you have more access to walk the hands back. Try to hook your left leg on top of the right arm. Lean forward. And then get all the way out of the pose. Back to downward facing dog. Down dog. Getting home. Coming home base right here. Hold on to all of the good things and the trying and the effort. Through the inhale, wash out the frustration on the exhale. Let yourself just be right in that center place. And then take it all the way down to child's pose. so you get even more of the release. Crawl to lie down onto your belly, flat against the mat. We're going bow pose here. Bend both knees. Hold on to your feet. If it's hard to hold on to both feet at the same time, try one at a time and see if that works. Ready? Let's lift everything that we can up. As much as 3 breaths at the top of your bow pose. And release. Right cheek to the mat, just lie there for a moment. So 2 options here, actually 3 options. If you were doing a one-sided bow pose, you're gonna do the second side here. That's the first option. The second option is to repeat bow pose, see how it feels the second time. The third option is to try a version of king pigeon pose, which starts a lot like cobra. It looks like this. Again, just a little show and tell. You can press down through the hands, get that full lift in the spine, and then you bend at the knees like you would in bow pose. And the thought is try to curl your head back to touch your toes. Okay, everybody try. Either second side of your bow pose, or this king pigeon, think thighs down, full upward dog with the head curled back. And we release, 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 release. All the way back to child's pose, push. Garland squat is inner edges of the feet together. Sit down, heels can be off of the ground, knees out to the side. Walk your hands forward. Feet as close together as possible. Heels as close to the ground as possible. Stay with your garland pose, or if you're itching for one more arm balance, Bakasana. Palms down, you lift your butt high enough to set the knees onto the upper arm bones. At least there's no twist involved, it's all pretty close in here. Lean forward enough to get your feet, one or both, off of the ground. Everyone meets back in garland in that low squat. And then crawl it out to all fours, as if we've been here all along, cat and cow. Cat and cow, just move the spine. Settle to your neutral spine in all fours and lift your right leg up and back. Left arm out in front. Stay with this best step or bend the back knee. Reach the left hand to hold onto the foot and extend. Opposite arm and leg elevated bow. Back to all fours. Lift the left leg up and back, right arm out in front. Stay and work here. Or add the bind to bow pose and lift. Release. Swing the right foot forward to low lunge with back knee down. Bring the hands to the thighs so they're finally free. Circle the wrist. And then press the hands at the front of the thigh so that it lets like the belly and the torso kind of perk and lift up a little bit. Squeeze the front heel back, squeeze the back knee forward. Stay there or take the arms overhead. Everyone slowly release the hands back down to the mat. Kick your hips backwards to straighten the right leg. And then gradually around to all fours. And we switch sides. Left knee forward. Back knee stays down the whole time. Pad the knee, throw a blanket under there if it's at all bothering you. Bring the hands up to the front thigh. Give it a couple of breaths to think long through the spine, engaged and strong to the midline. Keep the hands on the thighs or take them overhead. Anjaneyasana. Meant to be this breaking open of the heart space. It's a vulnerable pose. I always find it super hard because of that. Go easy. And then hands on either side of the foot. And press the hips back to straighten the left leg. You can flex the left foot, kind of pull the toes back. Okay, last downward facing dog of this practice. Last pose using the hands on the ground, actually. So downward facing dog. Really let this be a settled, easeful pose for you. So that might mean changing to like fist or fingertips, a shorter stance. What is it at this point in practice? Maybe it's child's pose as your variation. And then we'll change to lie all the way down onto our back. Not quite cool down yet, but lie down onto your back. Either sit on your hands for most support and leg lifts, or hands behind your head, legs straight up to the sky. Glue the feet together. All right, first stage, keep head and shoulders down as you lower the feet about a foot above the floor, and then back up. If that's working for you and you want a little more challenge, lift the head and shoulders without pulling on the head with the hands and keep the leg raises going. And here, find your own pace. You want to feel as though your navel is always drawing down into the mat. If you feel like you can't control that, then you probably don't want to go as low with the legs to the ground. Faster, not better here. The slower is more challenging. Go at the pace that keeps you in control. You're here for about 15 more seconds in the leg raises. Exhale on the hardest piece. So for me, that's lowering down, working against gravity as you have to hold the legs up. And then everyone, knees into the chest. Give yourself a good squeeze and hug. Okay, bicycle legs. If you're holding on to just the right leg, extend the left leg out. And you can just go side to side here with the head and shoulders down. This is still some core engagement. Good hip flexor stretch as well. And if you're adding the challenge piece, it's head and shoulders back off of the mat as you do the knee hugs. Try it here for about 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Both knees back into the chest. Rock yourself up to a seated position. Can you hold the front of your shins like you just did when you were lying down on your back and try to make your feet come off of the ground and balance? So only seat on the ground here. And then try grabbing behind your right foot and stretch your right leg as straight as it'll go up to the sky. If that's working, can you do it holding onto your left leg as well? It's like a high boat pose where you get to hold onto your feet and then look past your toes, lift the chin. A few breaths in. Nice, nice, nice. Stay with it, stay with it. You've got this. And then bend the knees and set the feet down to your mat. Awesome, that's a hard one. Hands back behind you, lean back, just so you can lean both knees over towards the right. And I'm like fully on my right side. Tuck your heels close into your hips and then try to sit up on top of it. Left hand to the outside of the right thigh. Right hand behind you, look over that right shoulder. I know it's a lot of rights and lefts, making our brain work here. And then can you change and look over your front shoulder so you can see your feet? Look over your left shoulder. Bharadvajasana's twist. To come out of this, just look more over the center line and then untwist the legs. So again, I've got my hands back behind. I'm kind of leaned back. Drop the knees first, and then the heels can come closer into the hips. And then I'm going to try to sit up on top of all of it. Look first over the left side. So you're kind of looking away from your legs, over the back shoulder. And then everything stays the same. It's just your gaze that changes. Look over your front shoulder like you're trying to see your toes. I always think of this as like a very regal, calming twist. You can lean back on the hands to release, and then stretch your legs out straight in front of you. Really nice. Seated forward fold. Give yourself a good 8 to 10 breaths in the seated forward fold. As you fold in, really slowing down, calming the whole body, nervous system release. yogis. And then from there, do your one more thing, like your one last stretch before Shavasana, before we take that final pose of stillness, whatever will help you complete this time. And if making that choice is too much, lie down and do a seated twist. That's always my default. Of course, do both sides if you picked a pose with two sides. There's no rush. But as you're ready, find your still pose. You can lie down on your back. Some are more comfortable lying on the side, or if you want to stay seated. Give your body stillness. Do your best to give your mind stillness. If the mind is staying busy, give it the task of listening, watching the breath. And from that position of stillness, return attention, breath, and body together through just a little bit of movement. If you're lying back, stretch fuller. And then everyone come back to your seated position. From the seat, palms together, thumbs to the sternum. Creating Anjali Mudra, this gesture of intention, so that we can take the goodness of this practice into the intentions of the day. And we further that through the sound of Om. If you'd like to sing along with me, or listen, or tune it out, here we go. Exhale. Deep breath in. I bow in deepest gratitude to you, each other, this practice. Namaste.